Power Man. So, essential Power Man and Iron Fist books. So, the Power of Shazam. So, Power of the Atom. Rape. Power Pack. A delightful. Hi, I'm Glenn Simpson, and I've collected comics for over 40 years, and I'm showing off my collection one box at a time. Today we're looking at box number 122. It's a powerful episode here on Glenn Simpson's Comics as we go through Power Girl, Powerless, Power Lords, Power Man, and Iron Fist, Power of the Atom, Power of Shazam, and we get into some Power Pack. So it's all power all the time. I'm so glad you're here. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Those are great things that help the channel. But hey, let's get going here on Glenn Simpson's Comics. Right, so picking up where we left off, we've got this fairly recent Dawn of DC Power Girl series. She is a little more integrated into the rest of the Superman family these days at this point. And she's having some solo adventures. She's hanging out with Omen, who is the character Lilith from the Teen Titans, and just having some various adventures. The one thing I found about this, though, is it was really, the covers seemed to be, more male targeted, but the stories inside I felt were a little more female targeted. There's just not as much, fighting and, might makes right kind of stuff that, you sort of expect from male targeted comics. I'm generalizing here, but anyway, so that was a bit of a disconnect. More of a disconnect of cover to interior than normal. But anyway, issue 1 through issue 6, hanging out with Supergirl, whom she is a parallel dimension version of. They are parallel dimension versions of each other. Although I have a weird theory about that. Comment if you want to hear my weird theory about the relationship between Power Girl and Supergirl. 9 there. And 12 there. She goes to the DC version of, Valhalla, Asgard, Valhalla stuff. This guy is a Asgardian, but he still wears glasses. Uh, 13. There. Through 20. This is also during the time it's been heavily somewhat criticized, is instead she just totally drops her Karen Starr secret identity and becomes Paige, which is a play on PG, but they didn't totally drop it because somebody else becomes Karen Starr. If I'm that's the general idea of this story. There at issue 20, which is the final issue of that. Have a Power Girl special. I think this was kind of a prelude to that series there, I think. We have Power Girl Uncovered. So they do these uncovered books, and it's basically just a reprint of various variant covers and regular covers, just to highlight a gallery of cool covers for a given character. In this case, of course, it's Power Girl. Issue 1 of that. Sometimes you can, and when they do it, you can get a variant cover of the book that features the variant covers. Anyway. Then we go with Powerless. This was a 4 or 5 issue series, kind of just a what if sort of thing, telling of what would these characters be like if they did not have their powers, if they were powerless. Issue 1. through issue, oh, I said, no, actually 6 issues. There. Got Powerline. So, Epic is a side line of Marvel. And Powerline was one of their series. And I was flipping through this to try to remember something about it, and it's like a guy and a girl who are simultaneously like living in the real world, or not our world, but a normal New York kind of world, but also living in a sort of fantasy world of superheroes and things like that. So. I never got around to getting the rest of that, but it's Bill Sienkiewicz art on there. There you go. And we have Power Lords, series of toys, and as often happened, it was almost like the people who made the toys would just kind of barely have any kind of storyline of who were these people that these toys were. And then they would hand it over to the comics, and the comics would flesh it all out. So, but there was the neat thing. This was kind of a transforming toy in the sense that I think is, in a way there was a way you could twist him around and stuff, and his head, he would, look different. That's issue 1 through issue 3. This obviously did not go the way of, Micronauts and all that stuff to be a big deal. Then we get to Power Man. So in terms of how I collect, I generally went back to I just picked out of the air January 1976 and said, okay, I want to get everything from 76 forward. But what in some cases, that's if something was really pricey, or if there was a decent way to get it, in a reprint form, I would do that. We jump around a little bit with old Luke Cage Power Man, but we've got because I've got a couple of like the Essential Power Man, and I've got an Essential Power Man in Iron, probably a couple of Essential Power Man and Iron Fist. Big thick books on the bookshelf in there. So maybe I'll show those one of these days. But anyway, so this is Luke Cage Power Man, issue 28 through 30. There. And that was where I ended with Power Man. He had an annual 1 there. So then, yes. So Power Man. Let me go back. So Power Man was basically a play on the blaxploitation movie genre that was going on in the 70s. Shaft being the most prominent example of that. And so they were trying to play into that with the Luke Cage. He was in prison, and he gets an experimental formula, and he gets diamond hard skin, and he breaks out and changes his name and becomes a hero for hire. Meanwhile, the other genre that was big at the time was Kung Fu, and so the Marvel had their Iron Fist series featuring Danny Rand, who went to a mystical city and learned Kung Fu and was also having adventures. Well, both of those kind of went splat after a while, and somebody had the idea, hey, let's put them together. And so Power Man and Iron Fist were born, and like peanut butter and chocolate, they went together great. Their series ran for a long time. As I mentioned, I think I've got a couple of thick of Essential Power Man and Iron Fist books. So I pick up with issue 72 of Power Man and Iron Fist right there. I've got issue 73. Got Rom, which probably would not be, Rom, which would not have been in Essential Power Man and Iron Fist, because Marvel doesn't own the rights to Rom anymore. So this would have been a good place to start. Frank Miller, by the way, doing all this art. 76. I like this guy Warhawk. Like, he's, you know, a supervillain guy, and he's a mercenary and blah blah blah. At no point does the fact that he's blue come into play. Like, he's blue, but nobody says, "Hey, why are you blue?" Or, you know, "This is when I turned blue." He's just blue. Just nobody talks about it. We don't, like that Star Trek thing. We don't talk about it. Issue 76. Issue 77. Daredevil, guest starring. Issue 80. Dennis Cowan. Klaus Janson doing art. '81. There. Through 84, we got some Sabretooth. As I mentioned in the last video, as it had come up, Sabretooth did not have an association with Wolverine for a long time in the comics. He was just happened to be this cat guy who would show up, and his first appearance was in Iron Fist's solo series, so that's clearly why they were bringing him back here. That connection would be made much later. Issue 85, which is the Mole Man. There. Through 88. Throwing a telephone pole. Ooh. Who among us hasn't wanted to throw a telephone pole? 89. There. 92. Dennis Cowan art. Joe Rubenstein. I think they went through a lot of writers. Nobody could they couldn't really get a writer to stay on for a long time. 92. '93. There. 96. Camistro, who was heavily overpowered, able to emit, like, shoot any kind of chemicals through his gun or something like that. It's like, it's crazy, man. Issue 97. Cover by Ernie Chan, who over at DC, sometimes he signed it Ernie, what looked like Ernie Chua, or that's what it looked like to me, but Ernie Chan. And he had done a ton of like early 70s cover art, and it's interesting that by the mid 80s he'd made his way over to Marvel. 97. Yeah, this one's cool, and this is still Ernie Chan doing some paint. Issue 100. You go, Ernie Chan. There. Issue 101. Of course, along the way, the characters Misty Knight and, oh my gosh, I always forget her name. Hang on. Colleen Wing, the Daughters of the Dragon. You know, I think they started off outside of Power Man and Iron Fist, but they also got kind of pulled into the book, just trying to gather everything together into one place. And give give the fandom of all these various things, get them all on enough of it into one book that they'll all buy the book. So issue 101, issue 104, John Byrne cover, which is interesting because John Byrne's going to do some interesting things with Iron Fist later. 105. Through 108. Ron Wilson cover. 109. Through 112. I can tell you that's John Byrne without, look at that. That's a John Byrne face right there. Looks like another John Byrne cover. It's burning. Byrne, John Byrne. 113. Through 116. They are not where they need to be. They did not bring a jacket. 117, Mark Bright, doing a cover there. Jerry Cerno. Through 120, so we got Mark Bright coming in doing some covers and I think interiors as well. We got shifted from green to red here on Iron Fist. The Secret Wars 2 issue. So our heroes meet the Beyonder in his 80s hair and outfit. Butch Guice, another person who was kind of an up-and-comer at the time. Of course, Guice would go on to be doing, Micronauts and all kinds of stuff like that. Through 125. So there was a lot of drama behind the cancellation of it, and some pettiness and some getting back at people and things like that. And so when they were told when the writer was told to kill off, or the series was ending, they basically had Luke Cage get framed for the murder of Iron Fist, and then the series ended. And so we would go a long time without knowing how that got resolved, but eventually, as we saw in a previous video, I mentioned when we looked at Namor the Submariner, John Byrne was writing on that, and he decided to resolve a lot of this stuff there, and he brought back Danny Rand Iron Fist in that series. So check out that video for that. Then Luke Cage goes on to kind of be called Luke Cage more than Power Man after a while. And so there came to be a day when a new guy was calling himself Power Man, and this kid he actually has chi powers or key powers, and can kind of summon power from the area around him, something like that. And he hooks up with, of course, Danny Rand, who's going to train him in being a superhero. This came out of the Shadowland crossover, which was the Daredevil-focused Shadow crossover called Shadowland. And that's where they meet and all that stuff. And his first appearance is somewhere in there. And then this starts. Issue 1 through issue 5. And this Power Man would go on to be in kind of guest star in other books and things like that. But the next time we have a Power Man and Iron Fist series. We're back to the OGs. Got Sanford Green doing the art, who I've not liked on some other stuff, but this, I liked it over here. Got our, the band is back together, issue 1 through issue 5. I like Tracksuit Iron Fist. Issue 6. Right there. Also that he's wearing his tinnies and not, you know, slippers. Issue 6 through 10. Brings back a lot of the old classic villains from that first Power Man series and kind of gets them somewhere from, you know, some of them become more super villainy and some of them become kind of less. There, issue 10. Issue 11. Right there. Through issue 15. And then that ends there. Somewhere along the line there, they had a Christmas special. Because Sweet Christmas is, for those who don't know, Luke Cage's like curse term, because, you know, and as a kid, I just thought that was what he said. It wasn't till I, you know, got older, so, oh, that's actually, you know, supposed to be really taking the place of an actual real curse. But that's his Sweet Christmas special. Then we get Power Man Timeless. So we had met this Power Man who's from an alternate future where he has the powers of Iron Fist and the Hulk and I think the Star Brand, and he or is it Quasar, one or the other, but and it, I think in that one it was just kind of a framing sequence again for one of those things where they show you what's going to be coming up in the Marvel universe for the next year, you know, just as a prelude. But then they wound up doing this series with him coming to the regular 616 and having a bit of an adventure. So that's issue 1. And then on issue 4, I have the Timeless variant from Alex Ross, which actually has got old school Power Man. So that was nice that was out at a time when that could go on a book that he, you know, made some sense. So there you go. Then we get to the power of Shazam. So Captain Marvel, invented 1940s, basically a ripoff of Superman. Billy Batson, young boy, says the magic word Shazam and is turned into the adult Captain Marvel. Very popular, runs to the 50s. DC has sued and basically runs the company into the ground. So then you have no Captain Marvel anymore. Then in the 70s, DC buys the licensing for the characters and brings them back. They put them on their own parallel Earth, Earth S, which is why, you know, from the perspective of the other characters, you've never seen them before. They get their own series, and that runs a few issues, you know, for a little while. Then that goes away. They have some backups or they're part of anthologies in like World's Finest and Adventure Comics. And then we get to the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and all of the Earths are merged. So Earth, so then, and we get a lot of new origins. So we got to kind of figure out how is Captain Marvel going to fit into this, and they decide to just completely start over. There is a Shazam, the new adventures or something like that. I forget, I'm messing that up right now. That is an origin, and it's okay. And then he goes on to appear in the Justice League book, which is really the only place we see him for a while. He by pre-crisis, by the way, he was, when Billy would turn into the adult, it was like Captain Marvel was a totally different guy. He had his own thoughts. He would say, "Oh, Billy called me, and I need to go do this." Whereas, post-crisis, they really leaned into he's a grown man with the mind of a boy, kind of like Big, the movie. And so that's largely where he stayed. Although recently they've shifted back a little bit. But anyway, after all the appearances in JLI, I think, Justice League, they decided to kind of revisit the origins again, and Jerry Ordway does this beautiful one-shot graphic novel retelling the origin of Captain Marvel. Kind of wipes out some of what's been done before, but then that graphic novel did well enough that it led into this ongoing series. And of course, as you may know, somewhere along the lines, for legal reasons, DC can't have the series called Captain Marvel, so everything they do has to be called Shazam, or refer to Shazam, but they can kind of refer to it, underneath. Eventually, they'll just kind of get tired of that dealing with that, and start calling him just Shazam for a while, and then lately he's being called the Captain. So that's where but here we are, Jerry Ordway's series. We are picking up, and we're going at it here. So issue 1 there. Issue 8. At this point, there's really only the 3 of them. There's Billy, there's Mary. Billy and Mary are actually blood relatives, and their friend Freddie, who is Captain Marvel Jr. And so then, and they're also, the Shazam characters now are all, modern day, people. But I think a lot of the other Fawcett characters that they had been published by the same company, that were also now owned by DC, were left back in the 1940s. Although some of them wound up with like new versions of them and things. So that's issue 8. Issue 9. Got some Black Adam. Issue 9. Issue 16. Fighting Mr. Mind, or in this case, Mr. Minds. Issue 17 with Dr. Savannah, his evil genius enemy. I always thought this looked like Iron Man's armor. When you think about it, with the bolt, it's really not, but just always made me think that. Issue 17 through issue 20. Final night. Sun is going out. What are we going to do about it? 21. You can, as I mentioned in other videos, the thicker the packs, the more you can assume that these are not, high value books, but, good stories, good stuff to read. Issue 21, Plastic Man. Issue 28. There, they gave this series also gave Mary, the white suit, because she usually, historically, she'd always had red, like Billy. But I thought this was a great change, because that way, they each have their own color. It's not meant to be patriotic or anything, but one's red, one's white, one's blue. 29. Back in the day, because Cat was so popular, there was even a sort of funny animal gag, Bugs Bunny-ish version of him that had adventures, and so they bring in a version of that here into the current, what was at the time, the current DC stuff. Issue 36, crossover with the Starman series that was running at the time, which was really kind of interesting, because they didn't really, that series didn't have a lot of ties to other stuff. It had a lot of ties to history, but not other ongoing books. But telling a story of, we've got the modern day Cap and Starman, we've got the 1940s Starman teaming up with Abin Sur, who was the Green Lantern of the Green Lantern Corps, and you've got Bullet Man, who is a Fawcett hero. So kind of a lot going on there. Really neat. And of course, the other cover has got Cap on it, and it's a connecting cover. 37. Dr. Morpheus. It says Dr. Morpheus rides again, so he must have been in one of the old books. So they started calling Freddy CM3 because they the gag with Freddy was that his name was Captain Marvel Jr., but his magic word was Captain Marvel, so he couldn't say his own name. So they kept that, but then they're like, they kept the fact that his magic word was Captain Marvel, but then, they decided to not just totally ignore it, and so now he was CM3, so that he could say his name. That really didn't go far, but issue 44. Because in theory, they were all Captain Marvel, really, because Mary could be a captain. Issue 45 with the JLA versus Black Adam. And so the series ended at 47, and then years later, during the Blackest Night crossover, they revitalized. They did one more issue of a lot of Dead series, because get it, Blackest Night was revitalizing Dead characters, so they revitalized Dead series, and did one more issue. And so this was some stuff that had been going on with the Shazam, the version of the Shazam family that as it existed at that point. Black Adam had this protege, Osiris, who had died, but he's coming back. We've got, this series was running during the time when the 1 million stuff was going on, the future of the DC universe, and we still have Captain Marvel, bearded Captain Marvel, able to get into some trouble. We have Legends of the Dead Earth annual, and this was interesting in the sense that all of the annuals this year had this Legends of the Dead Earth thing where it was the way distant future, and people would just kind of accidentally become versions of this, the superheroes, the same superheroes as we'd had in the 21st century. But this was a little different in the sense that this character, who would go on to be called Thunder, actually makes her way into the Legion of Superheroes comic. So most of them were just never seen again, but she actually has significantly more appearances. Alright, then we move on to Power of the Atom. Ray Palmer develops a process that will enable him to shrink down to 6 inches while simultaneously retaining his full strength and being able to manage his weight and mass. See also Ant-Man without the ants. And he had been a superhero, been part of the Justice League for a long time. Then there is a whole storyline where he goes off and gets lost in the jungle. He gets stuck at his small height and in the Amazon jungle, and encounters aliens that were also that same, coincidentally enough, were the same size and were living in the Amazon jungle. Called this whole thing was called Sword of the Atom. Then we get to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Nothing really changed much with Ray in the Crisis, and he didn't get like a totally new origin or anything. So he lives with them for a while. Then we've got some Sword of the Atom specials we'll see down the road, where events lead him to come back, and so we wind up. We're revitalizing the concept, and he's back and more powerful than ever, and gonna be having adventures as the Atom. It's issue 1 through issue 4. Hey, remember when I mentioned they put Power Man and Iron Fist together? Well, the precursor to that was Atom and Hawkman. Those were 2 books that were individually not selling that great, so they had combined them, and so in story it became, they're just really good buddies and all, and so they have lots of adventures together, and so this is a throwback to that. But this is also in that weird post-crisis, pre-Hawkworld time frame. Like, who is that? And in theory, that would be the Earth 2, previously known as the Earth 2 Hawkman and Hawkgirl that he's buddies with. But not the Thanagarians, because the Thanagarians haven't arrived on Earth yet. But we're from a Hawkman point of view, we're still in a very weird time. But that's issue 4 there. Issue 5 there, teaming up with the Elongated Man there. And issue 8. So, and not only, amongst all that Hawkman stuff, not to digress from the Atom stuff, but among the Thanagarians were one of the races who attacked Earth in the invasion, just because Earth was just constantly causing problems as far as they were concerned, and it needed to get locked down and taken over. But this is not, his buddy Hawkman. It's just another Thanagarian, as it turns out. Issue 9, paying a visit to the Justice League International, showing up old Guy Gardner there. Issue 13, shrinking down, riding around in somebody's bloodstream. Probably not just for the fun of it. Issue 14 versus Humbug, the Reusable Man. Ew. And ending with 18, the end. So from here, I believe he shows up next in the 0 Hour event. And in the 0 Hour event, there's this weird thing that happens where he gets de-aged back down to like 16, 17. And he will show up next in the second Teen Titans, just Teen Titans series, where it was all new characters. And the part of his angst is like, I know I'm 16, but I kind of remember being an adult. And nobody has. People should treat me like the adult that I used to be, but even though I'm not. that kind of thing. So, next we have Power Pack, a delightful series from the early to mid 80s. 4 young children encounter an alien. The alien basically gives them powers. Coincidentally, their last name is already Power, so they become the Power Pack. Jack, Julie, Katie, and the other one. And they have adventures, dealing with various little supervillains and aliens, and nothing too bloody, but good stuff. And that's issue 1 right there. This is issue 1. This is like the first appearance of a gajillion different things, all the different concepts that would be used in the series. Issue 2. Now Katie has the her code name is Energizer, and her ability is to disintegrate things, and then the energy that from what she disintegrates comes into her body, and she can shoot it back off as these balls of energy. And it's and she's deadly. I mean, she can disintegrate things. So that's going to come in important. That's going to be important later. I'll bring that back up in a minute. And the other thing to note is that Jack is kind of the surly one. Like, Alex is, he's responsible. He's trying to be responsible. He's the oldest. Jack is like, wanting to just smack everything in the head. So, but anyway, issue 2. The Zn'rx are the recurring alien enemies. They want to pull the powers back out of the powers, if you will. Issue 2 through issue 4. There. Jack has the ability to control his mass and density, so he can go cloudy or he can shrink, kind of like the atom, which he's somewhat frustrated at the lack of offensive ability that provides him. Issue 5 through issue 8, our kids are teaming up with Cloak and Dagger. They managed to get out of the house a lot and meet a lot of other people. Issue 9. There. Through issue 12. Such as the Morlocks, the underground mutants, as well as Nightcrawler and Kitty Pryde. Issue 13. Through 16. So Franklin Richards joins the team, as well as for a while there's one of the aliens that, the same race that gave them their powers kind of starts hanging around with them. But Franklin, is of course the son of Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman, and he had at one point dramatically, incredible powers that he could potentially not control. So Mr. Fantastic does some things to lock those down. He's left with a set of powers where he dreams about things that are actually happening, and he can project a sort of a holographic version of himself to other locations. So he can't really touch anything, can't harm anything, but he can see what's going on in places. So that's issue 16. Let's see. Issue 17, continuing their ongoing battle with the Zn'rx. Issue 17. Issue 20, hanging out with the New Mutants. There. Issue 21. A little bit of a Home Alone kind of play right there. 24. Franklin gets his own little suit. His code name is Tattletale. 25. There. Through 28. Got all the big names. Fantastic Four, Avengers. Kind of pulling it a smidge more into the main DC, or main Marvel universe. 29. Getting in the middle of Hobgoblin and Spider-Man. 32. This guy was called the Garbage Man. 33. Got some New Mutants. Some Spider-Man. Franklin. So this, one of the artists that we've gotten to is John Bogdanove, and he will go on to do a lot of the Superman Man of Steel series over at DC. 33. 36. Fighting a Sentinel. Now, one of the things you may, if you've noticed, is they change powers every once in a while. That's another thing of pertinence. So now Julie has the mass powers, Katie has the flying powers, Jack has the gravity, and Alex has the disintegration powers. That, again, that's going to come in. It's going to be important in a minute. 37. There. Oh, that's cool. So, so he's got the Energizer powers, right? So Jack can make him light, but Jack has no more means of propulsion. So, but Katie has a means of propulsion, but Jack would be too heavy for her. So, or Alex would be too heavy for her. So he's making him light, so she can carry all of them. That's, teamwork makes the dream work. 37. 40. Bringing back the New Mutants in their cool Brett Blevins outfits. 41. There. Through 44. At some point, the parents find out. And then at another point, the parents forget. That's I don't remember. So this is one of those, I guess. Because it's like maybe it doesn't really happen this way. Issue 44. A cover being deceptive. 45. The Boogeyman was one of their first enemies, who starts off as a human who's just trying to hunt down these, what are these, he thinks they're aliens or something, because they have powers, and then he gets infected with something and becomes an actual scary, ugly critter. 45. 48. Dolphins. 49. Zap, zap, zap. Okay. This is issue 52. Now, cover's okay, whatever. But this actually contains one of my most favorite panels in comics. And I actually stopped and took a picture, and I'll put it here. I'll put it on the screen. But it's all about, so the powers, the ability, the superpowers have gotten switched around again, and they're fighting the Zn'rx, and they're fighting the evil queen of the Zn'rx, and somebody's got the gravity power, and somebody's got the flying power, and somebody's got the the other power, and so what it's all about how the queen realizes that leaves Jack, the surly, ready to kick some butt one with the disintegration power that is like, you know, the most deadly power, and it's just hilarious where she's like, oh my, this is the actual worst possible outcome that could come from this. So I'll throw that up there as well. But that's issue 52. Issue 53. Fighting Typhoid Mary. Acts of Vengeance, when everybody kind of fights somebody that they didn't normally fight. See, Jack's got the 56. Galactus. There, Nova. Herald of Galactus. Steve Lytle cover there. '57. Again, Nova. There. 61. So at some point, Jack, something about the powers that they've got causes Jack to start turning into one of the aliens that gave them powers, which is not cool. And to make matters worse, the series ends with him having been turned into one of those aliens, but he'll get better because, you know, comics. Now they'll continue to have appearances, but the funny thing about the Power Pack is nobody can decide how old they are. Sometimes they've aged up. You can pick up some issues of like the Runaways, and Julie is like a full adult college student, and, you know, dating one of the other girls in the Runaways. Other times we'll be able to see some more mini-series where they're all still young. So you just kind of, I guess, have to assume that everything where they look young takes place in the past, and that they are adults. Same thing with Alex. He was in New Warriors, kind of as more of a, you know, 18-ish year old. But the show goes on. You get the best of both worlds. So in Legacy, they did one more issue of Power Pack, so issue 63 there. Not sure who that's supposed to be. I guess Katie. Aging her up just a hair. But then, you know, but before that, we had this one where they were all still, you know, kind of kids, maybe 1 year older, something like that. But that's the second Power Pack series through issue 4. Those are some boots, man. How do you walk in those things? We've got another mini-series, Power Pack, under the Outlawed thing where the kids, all the underage superheroes, are told they can't be superheroes. And they look a little older there. Right there. Ends with issue 5. There's a one-shot. These are, of course, alphabetical, not chronological. So, Power Pack, Grow Up, one-shot. Original June Brigman writer, or artist, rather. Well, Louise Simonson, original writer. June Brigman, original artist. Somewhere along the line, you had the Power Pack Holiday Special. There. And original writer and artist came back and did the another miniseries, Power Pack Into the Storm, issue 1 through issue 5. And that is all for this box. Okay, so that was 122. Next time we'll do 123. We will finish up the P's with just a smattering of things. Primal Force, Brent's Name of the Submariner, Pride and Wisdom, Psy-Force, Psylocke, and a few other things, including a smattering of Punisher. then we will get into the Q's with Quasar and the questions. So it's going to be a great time. So glad you're here for this one. Please be here for the next one. And in the meantime, have a great day.